Okay, so I think I'm on. But I'm never really sure until one of my armies of followers comes on to confirm that I'm on or not. It's saying that I'm live, but I could also be Memorex. And we have a winner. Tom is in the house. How you doing, my brother? Good to see you. And if I can see you, that means you can see me. Lance Chafin in the house says, "Hiya, Thrash. How you doing, bro?" That's two. Two and many, many more to follow up. And don't forget to those likes. Big Guys 45 said third. Hey, third rock from the sun. That's this planet's lucky number. Good to see you, Big Guys. Oh, I just got a reminder that Thrash Pondo is going live tonight. Tom says going to a big toy show on Saturday. Have fun. What decade? 80s ish, 60s ish, all things vintage. Those are always fun. Big Guys 45 says, "Get Thrash to 1,000 subs, please." What he said. John Doe in the house says, "Hey, everybody." Joe, how you feeling? John, I keep saying Joe, I'm sorry. Joe Doe. John, how you doing, by the way? Last time I was speaking to you, where you were just in a not great place. Hope you're feeling better today. Lance Chafin says, "Thrash, you're coming in clear." Good to hear. Tracy Ross Myers in the house. Tracy, how you doing? Great to see you, Bubba. Rich S, good evening, Pawns and Ponzies. Ooh, I love that. Ponzies. We're a Ponzi scheme next to the old Ponzi stream. But anyway, Rich, thanks for joining us. Superplex in the house. I hoped you weren't all scared this Halloween. I'm more scared when it isn't Halloween these days. Lance Javen says, "Don't forget to hit that like button." And so, as we're probably all just a little horror movie out, I was thinking we haven't talked science fiction in a while. I've been thinking about doing a couple of my sci-fi retrospects. A lot of people are saying that's really what my channel is known for. And stick to what you know. I'm sure you've all seen the stuff. That one was a lot of fun. I was going through some of my old books, and I have a couple of great ideas. One of them was a post-apocalyptic uh, novel by L. Ron Hubbard. Yes, that L. Ron Hubbard, called Final Blackout. It's similar in many ways to the premise of Things to Come. Basically, what happened, World War II turns into an ongoing epic conflict, which causes the collapse of the global economy. And it's basically about a group of brigands trying to survive in post-war Europe. It's a lot of fun, and it's funny because it's even though it was written in the 30s, I want to say, some of the post-apocalyptic tropes that we know of today are prevalent in it. That's one possible. I have a few others to suggest. Rich S says Galaxy of Terror or Bust. I know I've seen Galaxy of Terror. Give me a quick plot synopsis. I think I'm confusing that with Battle Beyond the Stars. Is Aaron Morgan in it? If you say Aaron Morgan's in it, then I'll know which one I'm talking about. If she isn't, I'll have to keep digging. Um, Trace Myers says Ponzi's Ave next to Madoff Street. Love it. Absolutely love it. Lance Chapin says Iris, Iris. Iris is the flower that's the end of you. Ice Pirates with Robert Urich. I love that movie. A sci-fi action comedy romp. Gotta love it. It's like part old school golden age science fiction meets 80s rom-com. Love it. Wasn't wasn't one of Bing Crosby's kids, Denise, wasn't she in that as well? And the guy I'm always confusing with Lyle Alzado. Or possibly Lyle Alzado. Emily Miller in the house says, "Hi, y'all," and I know I always get that r horribly butchered, by the way. I have to talk to my sister a little bit more. Get the southern accent. Tom says, "Anybody remember DEF CON 4 post-apocalyptic?" I do. That was one of the few Canadian post-apocalyptic films. I have a copy of it buried somewhere in my collection. Not a bad film. John Doe says, "And to leave and come back." Oops a days. You just went off screen. "And to leave and come back." So again, hello everyone. Oh, good to see you again. Good to see you. Tom Laramie says, "Hey Thrash, hey everyone." Oh, Rich S says yes. Okay, so I do have the right one. Haven't seen it in years. Gotta dig it out. Um, Guy who played Spalding in one of my favorite character actors. He was in everything. Is in it. He was the bad guy in Jason Star Command. His name will come to me, don't worry. But yeah, he's great. You know, the bald guy who was very, very villainous. Just died recently. Daryl Johnson says, "Bob, Deej, good to see you." Tom Laramie, subject. We've actually started in on cult science fiction. I'm gearing up for, well, I think we've been horrored out with Halloween. So I'm looking into doing a sci-fi retrospect, something I've been meaning to do for a while. A lot of people are suggesting film, and that's great. I'd like to do a couple books, but I don't have any books that I've read, of course. Trey Myers says, "Loved Enemy Mine." Louis Gossett Jr. stole the movie, although Dennis Quaid was phenomenal as well. If you haven't seen it, it's basically Hell in the Pacific set in a science fiction futuristic setting, and that's loved it. Absolutely loved it. A lot of people having fellowship. Aaron Morgan and oops, just jumped. I'm gonna have to put the glasses on. I read faster with the glasses on. At least till I catch up. Wow, did I get behind? Oh, here it is. Liz Javen says Aaron Morin and Ray Wise in Galaxy of Terror and Alien Ripoff. Pretty darn close. Zuplik says the future is always bleak for writers. Why can't they write a book on an utopian future? Is that beyond their imaginative capacities? No, just that no one would care. Futures are only fun if they're horrific. Uh, Wajmin says hello, everyone. And hello to you, Wash. Great to have you in the house. And Bloomer says, "It's okay, Thrash. I doubt I could pull off a northern accent." Oh, that's easy. You just drop the Oz. Your cousin from Boston. You watch the same Adams commercials. You can do a New England accent. Fortunately, I don't have one. A lot of people just having fellowship. Love it. Love it. Yeah, John Doe reached the same conclusion I do. Utopian doesn't sell. It's a sad truth. It's a sad truth. It almost reads like a kid's book. The golden rage of TV in the house says, "Hey, gang, Pat, so great to see you. Welcome to the party." So far, we're just sort of talking about classic vintage science fiction. I think I'm almost caught up. John Doe says, "Look at the newsplex. It's not really good news." You're so right. You're so right. Oh, Pat had dinner shall be miso soup tonight. It's so funny, those of you who haven't had dinner yet, it's 8 o'clock here, so uh, John Doe said They Live is a great movie. It is, in fact, I was just listening to Tug, the Unapologetic Geek. He mentioned it in a project he was doing. And then Melissa says, "Pfft, there will never be utopia." Sadly, I think you're right. Danny Staten in the house. Danny, I was hoping you could make it. And he gave a link to Pat's The Golden Rage of TV. Danny, give a link to yourself too, please, and one for Wajamin, please. By the way, he's been putting on some great dad jokes. So Luke says that depends on your point of view. For many people, the developing world, the present is better than the past. Oh, things will always get better in one way or another, but you'll never have utopia. Les Chafin says Space Hunter: The Forbidden Zone. I actually saw that in the theaters in a 3D format. Tom says miso is Japanese cooking. Always defer to what Tom says, by the way. He's a chef. Trey Meyer says 8 p.m. here, too. Yeah, because you live in Florida. We're in the same time zone. Same with Superplex. Emily Miller says, Pat, I don't want to get. I'll try this one more. It jumped when I was trying to read it. Pat, I don't want to get out poor Thrash taken off YouTube. I don't want to get taken off YouTube either. Thank you for your consideration. Distant says Thrash after dinner theater for me. BK on the air in the house. Barry, how you doing? Great to see you. Danny, you're my link master. Please give a link to BK on the air and his phenomenal channel, by the way. Love what you're doing, BK. Thank you, and great to have you here. It's an honor and a privilege, as it is with the rest of you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Oh, Pat asked, "What's the topic again?" So far, it's vintage science fiction. I'm looking into doing another one of my retrospectives, and I'm looking into topics. So pretty much old school sci-fi at this time. We're all kind of horrored out. Thank you, Dan, for putting that up there. Let's see. Oh, yes, and BK is also in the same time zone, Atlanta, that is. Emily says, Pat, I think it's sci-fi, but I never stay on topic. Because, Emily, you set the topic. You set fashion for this channel. And we appreciate it. John Doe says there was nothing in the Forbidden Zone that was forbidden. Oh, that was the one. Danny Elfman, wasn't he the creative genius behind Forbidden Zone? It was done in black and white. I like the Forbidden Zone. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a live action movie that was made to look like an old 30s animated cartoon. Um, a lot of special effects were meant to resemble old style cartoon graphics. The people were in a very animated sort of uh, cartoon-esque format. It almost worked. It didn't quite work, but it was a brilliant idea. And of course, Danny Elfman did the music for it. Liz Chafin asks, Pat, when is your next live stream? Hopefully tonight that I have off. Oh, big news, by the way, guys. I have to work this Sunday night, but the restaurant, long story short, it's an Italian restaurant. We're not really a sports pub. A lot of people are avid Pats fans in my area. Pats have been playing mostly on Sunday nights, so Sunday dinner services died off. So the restaurant I work at is going to be closed on Sundays, at least for the duration of football season. So I will have Sunday nights off for probably the next couple of months anyway. So for those of you who want to do things on Sunday, that is to say, Pat, Barry, other things people might want old Thrash Pounder to be a guest for, I'm not just free on Mondays and Thursdays. I should have Sunday nights free in the near future. Just saying. Just saying. No pressure. No pressure. Oh, and Pat goes on to say, not sure about the stream. New podcast tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Trey the Roseminer says, Plan 9 was awesome. The original. It really was. One of the originals so bad it's good. And yes, Emily, NC, same time zone. Yeah, my sister lives in Wilmington. My brother and my father live in Raleigh. I know that's nowhere near you. John Doe says it was Godzilla Day in Japan today. Talked about a new game and new movie coming out called Godzilla Zero, November 3rd, 2023. 1 year from today. Lance Chafin says, hey guys, set the clock back Saturday before bedtime. I know I used to do an overnight shift and it would just suddenly all go blip at 2 a.m. Emily Miller says, holy crap, aren't there enough Godzilla movies already? There will never be enough Godzilla movies. Tom says, I'm a Pats fan. All of New England is a Pats fan. That's why they're not going out for Italian food. They're all going to sports or having cookouts, not cookouts, watch parties, that type of thing. But it's not doing much for my dinner service, I'm afraid. But I don't mind an extra night off. Pat says, well, when it comes to TV, the Outer Limits is sci-fi king. Pat, you should check out The Unapologetic Geek. Tug is doing a whole seminar on the Outer Limits. He's doing from the first one to the last. He's on 3 or 4 at this point. BK Leah says Battle Beyond the Stars 81 was a nice Roger Corman Star Wars-ish. Magnificent 7 low budgeter. Great early music score by the late James Horner. I forgot about James Horner doing the soundtrack, but yes, it is definitely a 7 Samurai. That was an old trivia question of mine. Name 2 of the 3 adaptations of Seven Samurai, and that's possibly my favorite. Um, uh, John Saxon made an unbelievable villain in that movie, and the rest of the cast is phenomenal as well. Lance James said, "You're Hunter from the future." I remember that one from when I was in high school. Trey Rosemeyer says, "Let's all go out for dinner, guys. Now that we all know Thrash has the day off." Rich S says, "Is Thunder the Barbarian sci-fi?" It is because it's post-apocalyptic, and I've been hoping that they would do a live-action adaptation for years. They've been talking about it for years. Dreamcast would be Chris Hunon as Thundar, Olivia Wilde as Ariel, and The Undertaker as Ukla. And if he was still alive, I think the perfect um, wizard would have been Robert Ridgely, since he did the voice of Thundar, but he's no longer with us. But you know, the funny thing is, if you watch closely, He-Man is in many ways very similar to Thundar, only instead of post-apocalyptic world, it's an alien world. I can't help but think that if Thundar had actually lasted, that monumental toy line would have gone to him and not the very imaginative but marginally related He-Man. Let me know what you think in the comments. That's been like kicking in my head since I just saw they just had a documentary about the He-Man cartoon. Les Javen says Tracy buying. Ellen Miller says, where are we going to meet Tracy? I say Boston. That'd be easiest for me. And I know some really good restaurants up there. Trevor Meyer says, versus Mothra is the best. I got to see Mothra in the big screen. Loved it. Ghidorah, that's another good one. Pat says Red Dwarf. Anyone? I love Red Dwarf, particularly the first 4 or 5 seasons. Absolutely great English sci-fi comedy. Emily Miller says, I don't care who gets the playoffs as long as it ain't Brady. Isn't it? He's going through a divorce, as you know. Isn't that awful? I'm just sick about it. Tracy Rosmeyer says, after I win the Powerball anywhere, I guess. Oh, if I win the Powerball, I will do something very nice for all of you. Everyone gets a car. I'll pull it over. Everyone gets a car. Number one dude says, hey, Thrash, great to see you. Number one dude, it's awesome to see you as always. So glad you could make it. So far, we're talking about vintage sci-fi and films and books we think might make part of another retrospective I'm trying to put together. Let's see. A lot of people welcoming the dude. That's always nice. Zublik says, I think Battlestar Yamato was a superior series to Thunder. You mean Space Battle Cruiser Yamato. Excellent series, but I prefer Thunder. Elias in the house. Elias says, good evening, Thrash. Elias, always great to see you, man. How's the newborn? Tell your lady I said hi, but I'm so glad you could make it. Emmanuel says, who was Hank on Car 54? Who was Hank on Car 54? Was it, I don't know. I'm sorry. Was it the guy, Al Lewis? Guess. Barry says He-Man, Thundar, and Black Star Saturday morning, crazy heroic fun. Same, yeah. Black Star also had a lot of similarities, particularly with the sword and the villain. Only that was sort of a Robert Covenant the Unbeliever. See, in Black Star, he was from Earth, but he went to this Tolkien-esque world. Thundar and He-Man are both products of the world they live in. But I'm gonna give it to you. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Almost, you know what? It's almost like the Dylan Hunt saga, where he's actually from another age, call it, but shows up and becomes the hero of the one he ends up in. As opposed to one written by Harry Harrison, where he becomes a slave because they already have their own hierarchy. I just went blip, so I'm gonna have to like Krull, Beastmaster. Love both of them. A lot of people saying hi to Elias. Tom Memory says Fred Grin or Joe E. Ross or Al Lewis. Wow, hedging your bets, aren't you? Yes, way to pick the entire cast. Emily Miller says Thrash, I'll keep my car, but I'll accept cash. Okay. I will send you a bag of monies. Not just money, monies from all over the. That would be a great present. Send people money from all over the world. Instead of like an international beer basket with international a different beer from each country, you give them like $1,000 in currency from all the different countries. You can't doesn't work in Europe because they'll have the euro. But anyway, that'd only be if I won the Powerball. Barry says Krull 83 was great and underrated. Another Homer music score. It wasn't underrated in my group, Real Sci-Fi Geeks. Pat says Thunderbirds and all Anderson stuff. There's a bunch that actually never made it here to the States. I saw some of it when I was in the UK, but I wasn't there long enough to really amass a collection. Daryl Johnson says, Tom, you meet a lot of people before they die. Well, you have to meet them before they die, don't you? Tom says we have the Balboa Theater in San Francisco that shows Toho movies on the big screen. Oh, I am green with envy. Oh, Lance Chafin says Highlander, not the sequel. I hated the sequel. When I saw the sequel in the theaters, all I could think of was the guy that got to direct this had never even seen the original. And then I found out it was the same guy. I went, people on hallucinogenics should not direct movies. Lance Chafin says Hercules with Lou Ferrigno. I remember it, didn't see it. Pat says, I forgot his character's name. It was Officer something. All comes out in the podcast. Oh, good, good. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think we have a bot. Yes, John. War elephants attack. Get the bot. It's this Mr. Burgles. Oh, someone's oh, excellent, excellent. Gee, it's been a while since we've had a bot. Well played. Well played. Total Recall and RoboCop, thank you. Keith E. in the house. I am here, but Siri is not behaving. When does it ever? Lisa in the house. Lisa Fields. How's it going? Excellent. I think I may have missed a couple of comments. I'm just going to backtrack for just a minute. Yes, here we are. Yeah, it was the bot. It caused me to go. Zzz. Keith says, I'm here. I'm just eavesdropping since the beginning. Well, thank you very much for being here. John H says, hi, Thrash. Hey, John H, what's going on, man? John H says, hi, Thrash. I saw you made a comment on my net friend Fred Flicks page. He creates great videos, too. I've been a subscriber to Fred Flicks for years. I've been so busy with my channel stuff, I haven't had a chance to get to his as late. But he's put out some phenomenal material. Tell him I said hi. If he's a friend of yours, tell him I said hi. Invite him to come by and see what I'm doing here, by the way. I'd really appreciate it. But you know what? You reminded me, I haven't gone to his. I probably missed a dozen of his posts. I'm going to have to go on and try to catch up. Maybe I'll do that this weekend when I have some time free. But thank you. And yes, folks, check out Fred Flicks. In fact, if possible, Danny, please give a link to Fred Flicks and check out what he's doing. He has some wonderful nostalgia stuff. And if I miss anyone, please forgive me. I'm going to get. Wow. Persistent little minx, wasn't he? Fred Smithberg in the house says, "Ha ha" at Emily. Missed the context, but Eli says, "Be gone, Burgles." Yes, indeed. I think I've caught up. Let's see. Maybe if I. Ah, boy, we're all on it. He's fighting the heck of a fight. I'll give you that much. There. Denny says, "I blocked this guy 10 times. He must have 50 accounts. Must. Oh, dear goodness. Yeah, persistent little guy, isn't he? Well, we'll just ignore him. And oh, here he is again. Oh dear, this man. Yes, 45s. Uh, Big S 45 says, "I'll ignore you." Yes, I think that's probably the best thing to do. Oh, Tom Leary reported. Good. Zublik says, "Burgles is the dystopian future." Oh, we'll try hiding him again. Good. John Doe says, "Damn, this is annoying." We haven't had one of these clowns in some time, but we'll get rid of him sooner or later. Pat says, "Time to use StreamYard, maybe Thrash." Emily Miller says, "He's playing peekaboo with us." John Doe says, "Hey, this means you're getting noticed." Thank you. I appreciate that. And Fred Smithberg says, "Who would win, Mr. Burgles or Son of Godzilla?" I'm always going to go with Son of Godzilla. Let's see what else we got here. Lucy Field says, "Why can't we get rid of this guy?" They think he has like 50 accounts. So every time they boot him, he just goes to another one. The Foundation says, "Hi guys, hey to you, good to see you." Tom Lermy says, "Did you get Car 54 question answered, Emily?" I keep going back to Al Lewis, but I can't really tell. And let's see what else we going on here. Ooh, a timeout. That's even gooder. Of course, he has another account. Emily Mills says, "Pairs, I'll take Burgles over Son of Godzilla at this point." Let's just see. Are we caught up yet? I think we're. Ironically, yeah, we're caught up. Big S 45 says, "Some people have literally nothing better to do with all their personal time. LOL, how sad and pathetic Mr. Burgles must be." Oh heck goodness no. The funny thing is I'm getting more comments. Rich S says, "Son of Godzilla is Godzuki. I learned it in 1982 Saturday morning cartoon." I thought Godzuki was like his nephew or something, and not a direct bloodline. Um, that's a good point. If you could just give me a thumbs up every time he comes in, it'd be one thing. Tom Huggy Jerk says, "What do you win?" Yeah, I know, really. Uh, oh, Teddy Stanton says it's probably Dave messing with you. Fred Smithberg said, "So a paradox. If Mr. Burgles went back in time and met himself to play a card game, and Mr. Burgles always wins, how could either one lose?" You raise a great point, Fred. You raise an excellent point. Big S 45 says, "Thrash Pondo. I just uploaded that new song with a new wave band, Berlin, right now. LOL. Something a controversial pick as well. Oh, I remember Berlin. They had some good stuff back in the day. Lance Javen says, "Hi, Dave. Good one." Crow Minion in the house says, "Hey, Thrash. Oh, how you doing? And be sure to say hi to Mr. Burgles. He's our new friend." Uh, let's just see what else we get going on here. Let's see. Ironically, I think he is giving me most of my hits. Thank you. I actually might get it into the algorithm thanks to Mr. Burgles. Number one dude said, "Big Guys 45, take my breath away, Berlin." That was one of their hits. Yes. Oh, Crumman says hi to BG. Yes, indeed. Pat says Berlin was cool back then, except for the wall and junk. Different Berlin. Fred Smithberg says 1 million year dungeon. Emily Miller says I changed my ringtone to a beloved Christmas song, Mariah Carey. Anyone? Which one? She had a couple of Christmas hits. Elias has just sent you a bundle of Theopics. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciated. And he must be getting big. It's been a few months. And Tom Lemony says, "Fred, I pray the son of Godzilla wins." Ooh, Lance just said. Lance says, "Thrash, you may have to cancel tonight's stream." I think that's what somebody wants. Hey, like I say, I'm getting hits. So thank you. We'll just keep deleting the messages. Let's just see what else we got. Big Guys 45 says, "Number one dude, yes, the same band, but not that particular song by them." Emily says, "Take My Breath Away" has personal meaning for me. Is there a story behind that? Big Guys 45 says, "Mr. Burgles is the Elephant Man." Number one dude says, "Mariah Cannon." Not anymore. Zublik says, "There were too many guys in rubber suit movies to suit me." I'm assuming you're talking about Godzilla. Oh, Ellen Mills says, "All I Want for Christmas." What do you mean? Back. My nieces are wanting my time, as is Mr. Burgles. Tom Lerner says, "Good evening, Emily." Fred Smithberg says, "I had the Soul Kaplan iconic Star Trek music, the Doomsday Machine, as my ringtone." Ooh, good one. Teddy Stain says, Burgles, if you're going to annoy everyone, at least subscribe." He raised a good point. Big A says, Barry says, "Don't cancel, march on. March on. March on." Big Guys 45 says, "I'll be back later. Probably skipping for dinner. We'll see you after dessert." Terry the Reminder says, "Drops of Jupiter always reminds me of my mom, who was now passed many years ago. I'm sorry, Tracy." Fred Smithberg says, "If only each Mr. Burgles could give thumbs up for the stream." I know, really, really. Number one dude says, "I'll take Last Christmas." My Jameen says, "I see that." Lance Javen says, "Hiya, Mr. Burgles." Indeed. Criminal says, "Yes, Burgles, please like this video with each of your accounts." That would be very nice of you, by the way. uh, Lisa Field saying hi to Wash. Rich S says, "Mr. Burgles, could you please stop? I accept you as a winner, as you have said." Yeah, no one ever questioned your ability to win, by the way. So I guess you won. Emily Miller says, Have a call, gotta go. Emily, anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night. Take care of yourself. What do you mean says hello, Lisa. Tom Leonard and me, we are in a world of canceling. Cancel Perkles. John Doe says Godzilla was a metaphor for the nuclear bomb, but evolved into a hero to progress the storyline. In a nutshell, that's exactly what happened. Zublik says, "This is how the internet feeds the ne'er-do-wells." Ooh, nice word, the ne'er-do-wells. Number one dude, Thresh, you should have ENC as your right hand on your live streams. I still did. Danny and I were supposed to do a live stream together like months ago, and um, because I, long story short, I'm not set up to do have two people on my show. I really should go to StreamYard. I'm not set up to have two people on the show yet, so that's why I routinely fly solo. But perhaps down the road. Treasurer Meyer says, "Hey, Mr. Biggles, I think I hear your mother calling." They said, "No." Les Chafin said, "Thrash, so sorry about that idiot." um, Still waiting. And apparently, I wonder if they're somehow related to Rabbit Bait because Rabbit Bait seems to also be striving for negative attention. If you're trying to get under my skin, it won't work. Little secret: when I was a kid, I was broken by experts. Tom Leonard says I can smell it from here. Oh, it's Rabbit Bat. I thought it was Rabbit Bait. Rabbit Bat. Yeah. Either way, you are bye bye. Fred Smithberg said, "Did anyone have the Planet of the Apes cereal bowl as a kid in 1970s? I had a whole bunch of action figures and play sets, but not the cereal bowl. I think I even had a lunchbox." Crimminian said, "There are four lights." LOL. I just used that in something. Thank you for reminding me. I just used there are four lights, and I can't remember where I used it. But thank you. Zublik says, "What is your favorite sci-fi movie?" My favorite sci-fi movie of all time. Wowzers. Um, that's a toughie. I could give you some highlights. I don't know if I'd ever settle on one particular. I absolutely love Repo Man. I absolutely love Repo Man. But it's not really vintage sci-fi. If you're gonna go with like a vintage classic sci-fi, I would probably have to go with one of the Planet of the Apes movies. I adore the Planet of the Apes movies. And that being said, if you want to do, that's just a great question. I'm gonna have to think about it some more. But I'm gonna open up with something Planet of the Apesy. Number one dude, Thrash, did you like the Twilight Zones from the 80s? I've been watching them lately, and they're pretty good. I did. I didn't love them as much as the original with Rod Serling, but I thought they were very well put together. I also like the turn of the century Canadian Outer Limits, not quite as much as I like the original series, but they were good. Les Chafin says we don't quit getting rid of bots. I can do this all day, like Cap said. That's the spirit. Fred Smith had a Star Wars lunchbox. Duplex says leaving Tom. Fred Smithberg says Forbidden Planet for me, probably fave sci-fi movie of all time. That's a great one. I love Forbidden Planet. Crimmington said I like the 80s T zones. Not as good as the original, but still cool. Kevin Scott 76. If you haven't seen what he's doing, he's put out some great stuff on his channel as well. He does some really good. He does crossover opening themes to TV shows. He'll take the opening credits from one show and match it with the music from another, and it's actually a blast. Check out what he's doing. He's got some great stuff. John H says Back to the Future is mine. If you consider that sci-fi, I certainly do. You know what? if you're gonna do space science fiction, oh, I keep coming back to the first Alien. But if it seems like you guys want, like, golden age. If I was gonna do a golden age, like something along the lines of Forbidden Planet, I would probably go with, like something 50s sci-fi. I keep going back to the Earth versus the flying saucers. Um, but again, I digress. Danny Staten says, "Me too. I hid 43 of that goof's account." 43. Lisa Field says, "Red Dwarf is fantastic." Yes, we have some love from Red Dwarf. Um, in earlier comments, Forbidden Planet was good. Yeah, John Doe says, "With the advent of self-driving car, you know, sooner or later someone's going to make a country song about their car leaving them." That's actually a riot. Teresa Meyer says, "Does anybody remember when, like, McDonald's and or Burger King used to give away Star Trek glasses?" I remember giveaways. I don't remember them specifically. Tom Marie says, "No," replying to Thrash. Bye bye. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Lynn Chafin says X Files. They were great. Uh, 2001: A Space Odyssey, phenomenal sci-fi movie. Rich asks, "Oh, the '80s also had amazing stories." Yes, they did. They had a lot of anthology shows, monsters, and even Friday the 13th, the TV series. Fred Smithberg says, "I finally watched every episode of UFO, Jerry Anderson TV show. I loved UFO. I remember I used to watch it with my father when I was really little." I got a little behind, so I'm going to scroll through real. Fred Smithberg says, "No alien counts, thank you." John Doe says, "Thrash, you should make a bracket of movies for your favorite sci-fi movies." You know, that's actually an amazingly good idea. I'm going to do that. I have it for horror. Why not 50s? So much 50s sci-fi, and the problem, well, not the problem. The interesting thing about the 50s is it was the schlock films the most fun. So, like, isn't Star Wars golden age science fiction? No, I'm talking like Star Wars is sort of the Renaissance. Star Wars is when it was making a comeback. The 50s is really uh, the golden age of the science fiction. Classic sci-fi for me would be The Day the Earth Stood Still and Forbidden Planet. Those are great. A lot of people love for Forbidden Planet. Don't blame them. Kevin Scott 76 says, "Thanks, Thrash, and remember my videos are on my other channel, alternate show beginnings." Yes, that it would be easier to go to alternate show. In fact, we went through that last week. Alternate show beginnings is what you should look up, and it is great. In fact, Danny, would you mind giving a link to alternate show beginnings? Tracy Rosemeyer says, "Message retracted," and message retracted to you. Oh no, you didn't join Burgles, did you? At two, Tracy. Number one dude says, "Thrash, did you like the '80s movie Explorers? It was good, and I think it would be classified as sci-fi." It would be. I saw it when I was a kid. Haven't seen it since. Um, so I would have to watch it again. Zublik says, "What are your opinions on Firefly? I thought it had great potential. It was canceled way too early, but I like that sort of dystopian sci-fi, futuristic dark age type stuff. It was. I actually wrote a story very similar when I was a kid in college. Um, Fred Smithberg says, "The Silent Earth. I had seen most of it, but I have to go and watch it again. That seemed like a good movie." It's actually a very, very good movie. And you know what? I still love MST3K's treatment of it. I'm still watching to see if we have any more of the bots or negative vibe merchants. I think we may have gotten past it. And for those of you still around, thank you. I know some people got frustrated and bailed. I don't blame it. It was getting frustrating to me too, but who cares? You know, I live with frustration. Sorry, little parch there. So to all the people who needed to bail, I understand. But hey, we'll continue to press on. Denny Staten says, "If I was going to remake a movie, I would want to do one that have not been remade yet, like Tarantula or Giant Praying Mantis." a movie, our later movies, Q, that giant bird movie. That was done by the same guy who did the stuff, Larry Cohen. I love Q. Lance Chavin said Flash Gordon. You can't go wrong with Flash Gordon. You really can't. John Doe said the giant claw. I love that. That also has the same guy from This Island Earth. Tom Memory says Kevin Scott. What is your channel? It's alternate show beginnings. Trevor Meyer says no thanks with Burgles. LOLO. I was joking. I know you would never betray me. Ziblik says, would you consider Lone Gunman sci-fi? Definitely. Number one dude says the bot got the boot. Boot to the head. Boot to the head. Trevor Meyer says, I like Life on Mars, and I thought it ended very strangely. I never saw it. Stargate 1 and Babylon 5 are my faves. This one's speaking in numbers. Those are both good call, Crominion. Keith, he says Surrey is keeping Mr. Burgles entertained. Good. They deserve each other. Oh, and by the way, Keith, you sent me a personal message a couple days ago about joining Patreon. I'm doing that, by the way. You raised a valid point, and I'm going to do it. I haven't done it yet. This week kind of got away from me, as they all do. But no, you are absolutely right. I just wanted to tell you firsthand, sort of YouTube to YouTube in voice, not typed. Because I did think you were right when I read your message. Fred Smithberg says there's a very good short video on YouTube. I watched it again today. It's called The Egg, kind of sci-fi, kind of religious, about 5 minutes long. That sounds familiar. I'll have to check it out. Daryl Johnson, you can go block them yourself. Oh, I have blocked people on from time to time, but you guys are way more on top of it than I am. Number one dude says the '80s thing is great. That actually might that might be my favorite sci-fi film. You know what? I think you guys are right. I'm gonna have to come up with a compendium. There's not just one film. I have to come up with like a top 10. Keith he says I blocked him 15 times, and now he doesn't appear. So 15's the magic number. Lance Chafin says Roto Alienator. John Doe says message retracted, and a message retracted to you too. Zublik says opinions on Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. It's a very fun film. It's a sort of spoof parody adaptation of the trading cards. No, very very good. Kevin Scott 76 says, has anybody said War of the Worlds? No, but I'm gonna add that to my compendium. That and George Pell's Time Machine. Best double feature ever, even though they have nothing to do with each other. Life and Set Editing in the House says, hi. Hi, Lance. Lance, you're not Mr. Burgles, are you? I'm sorry, private joke. We had the mother and father of all bot battles tonight. And the funny thing is, he kept saying he always wins. He always wins. He always wins. And he always wins. Well, who's still here? He or me? A lot of people saying hi to Steve. Jason Meyer says we don't put up with idiots. That's right. There's only room for one idiot on Thrash Pondel's channel, and that's me. Danny Staten says, LOL. This year is getting away from me. Rough time. My mom's birthday is the 11th of this month. First one without her. I am so sorry, Danny. Again, commiserations. He lost his mom last year. Well, earlier this year, I should say, in this past year. My father's was the 11th as well. Stepmom's as well. Keithy says, good news about Patreon. I try to support everybody I can. Well, excellent. I'll take that as a hint. John Doe says, that movie about the two brains from space that fight each other on Earth. Can't remember the name of it. The brain from planet Aris. Didn't think I'd know that one, did you? Fred Smithrick says, I actually never really got into the X-Files, but I love the episode with Jesse Ventura and Alex Trebek as the Men in Black. I was just talking to somebody about that episode. I was, because sometimes on a balmy night, which you don't have too many of in November here on Cape Cod, but like when I'm watching movies on in my garage, I leave the garage door open, and I'm always waiting for a black limousine to pull up, and Trebek and Ventura to get out and start quizzing me. Jenny Stain. Oh, speaking of which, things I've heard. Do you know how we were talking about the koi wolves here on Cape Cod? Someone who's an expert on them apparently was talking about them, and they're not classic wolf. They're southern red wolf. So, Danny, you've made a couple posts about red wolf on your channels in the past. Are they dangerous? Have there been cases of documented attacks on peoples? Because everyone's saying that the koi wolves are going to start biting people on Cape Cod. They seem completely harmless to me, although they took something down in my backyard last night, probably a rabbit or a squirrel or a person. But anyway, let me know what you know of red wolves if you could, or at least direct me to something that does. Danny Staten says 15. LOL. Block that goof 43 times. Oh, I think I did. I kick back too far. No. Sorry. Keithy says, "Hey, Lance, you're still the first person I ever say hello to me on YouTube, and I'm the last. Hello." Uh, Fred Smithberg says, "Calculon, but I thought you were Egyptian." That's supposed to mean I'm having one of those like James T. Kirk moments. That's something very old. Crow Minion says, "I remember having tears running down my cheeks watching the Lone Gunman at times. I guess some didn't like the more humorous take on the X Files universe, but I loved it. I liked it. Starship Troopers, a good one. Yes, Lance, I like Starship Troopers. Fred Smithberg says Charles Nelson Raleigh in that episode too. I do remember. Yeah, yes, that was one of his last acting performances. Oh. Lance Javen says, "Dude, everyone fights, no one quits." Tom Murray says, "Fred, son of Godzilla 1, we do. Godzuki, Minya in the house." Jubilee says, "Coyote Wolf are Chimera then?" Well, the coyote here on Cape Cod supposedly mingled with wolves. That's why they call them koi wolves. But they're not the Canadian gray wolf, even though I've seen a couple that look like small gray wolf. They're saying they're not. They're saying they're more southern red wolf. And Fred Smithberg says son of koi wolf. I love it. Lance Chafin said Flight of the Navigator. I saw that one years ago too. I haven't seen it in years though. John Doe says it was a show about a cursed gun in the Wild West produced by Fonzie from Happy Days. I think we're talking about two different shows. Zuperlick says Burgles and Teapon. Two men enter, one man leaves. No, we both left. Well, one has left and one will leave later on. Mr. Led, Letty, my friend, Mr. Led says, "Hey folks, I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in." Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Favorite sci-fi movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers original. War of the Worlds, also the original. Um, I know you love it, but just playing devil's advocate. The Unapologetic Geek just did a symposium on the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. If you get a chance, check it out. It's absolutely amazing. It's on the Dan Schneider channel. I can't remember the actual. Well, if you go on Facebook. Oh, by the way, remember, I can be found on Facebook now. Like, join, friend, you. But anyway, you can go on Tug's page and it takes you right to his project on the 1978 version, and it's absolutely amazing. They bring up some amazing points. Danny Staten says no, red wolves usually run away. The ones around here were raised by people to repopulate. Ooh, really? The species they mostly eat deer. Yeah, we have some deer around here. The ones around here, I guess they eat mostly like small varmint, squirrels, rabbits, rats, which is why I don't mind having them around. They eat the water rats around Ponce's Pond. They have been known to take down deer, and we do have some of them. But thank you. Keith E says, "Danny, on the opening of The Odd Couple, November 13 is when Felix Unger was thrown out of his house by his wife, according to the original opening." Yeah, and she has the pot that she hands through the door. Tom Laramie says this pod cane head I'll come in again. This podcast ain't big enough for T-Pans and Burgles. You know what? I know, but he probably gave me more hits than any live chat I've ever had, which means he may single-handedly. I don't fully understand the algorithm, but he may have somehow launched me by the number of hits I've gotten tonight. So you know what? Burgles, thank you. Heck, even Rabid Bat. Don't go away mad, just go away. And thank you for your support. Criminal says American Coy Wolf in London. American Coy Wolf, get away from me. American. Liz Chafin said Fry Werewolf. Tom Emery says, Led, we got rid of a bot. Think about it. Kevin Scott 76 says, I think the first science fiction novel was Frankenstein. Yes, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is credited as being the first true science fiction novel. They actually mentioned that in Bride of Frankenstein, I believe. One of those. I'm drawing a blank now. Fred Smithberg, werewolf, the wolf, the castle. I ain't got nobody. General Armageddon, y'all ready for the big show? General Armageddon? Yes. And welcome to the party, General Armageddon. Trailer Reminder says we zapped the F out of that bot. Number one dude says Thrash Bottle Bonds. Would the 80s movie Dreamscape be considered sci-fi? Good movie, and it has David Patrick Kelly in it. David Patrick Kelly steals that movie, even though it has a great cast, and it is definitely science fiction. And Christopher Plummer plays an amazing villain. But yeah, it is definitely science fiction. Fred Smithberg says, what knockers? Oh, thank you, doctor. Roll in the hair, roll in the. The book says, how about the turkeys, T-Pawns? I actually had some in my front yard just today, actually. John Doe says, just putting this out. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is an allegory for alcoholism, and the original name of the book was The Traveling Companion. Tug actually discusses that at some length when he did his public domain theater on Dr. Jekyll. So yes, I think that's a very good point. Danny Staten says one of my neighbors has lots of cattle, so he shoots the deer and leaves them in the woods so that the wolves leave the cattle alone. Gruesome, but a good idea. Fred Smithberg says, where turkeys? Right across the Aegean from Greece. No, he means the wild turkeys, which come through my yard all the time. In fact, if you go onto my channel, there's at least 3 or 4 posts of mine where I film turkeys right in my yard. Lance Chaffins' War of the Worlds, both versions. There's actually 3. There's one with C. Thomas Howell, which is and I gotta tell you, I'm sorry, Lance, I'm not crazy about the one with Tom Cruise. It's not bad, but it didn't grip me. Zupalik says in Cape Cod, Fred, they are prey for the wolves. Actually, not so much because the wolves feed at night, and the turkeys roost in trees. Wild turkeys can fly. They used to like roost on my neighbor's house roof. Fred Smithberg says on his question in werewolf lore, does only humans become werewolves? If a turkey was skunk was bitten and lived, where skunk? To the best of my knowledge, it only affects humans because it occurs on humans, which are a higher animal. So you could probably turn a human into a turkey or a skunk, a were turkey or a were skunk. But a wolf wouldn't turn a turkey into a wolf turkey, a wolf turk, a turk wolf. Liz Chafin says we gave that bot a lobotomy. Oh, good one. Well, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than to have a frontal lobotomy. Turkeys turning into skunks, Fred. Why not? Chromium says, "Where mouse?" LOL. Oh, that's cute. Liz Javen says, "Where is Tug at?" He had something going on, some project. Um, he was certainly invited to tonight, but I think he was previously committed. Creminian says, "I was hungry, so I ate some turkey. It had a lot of grease in it, but it wasn't bad." Some kid who worked for me years ago at the video store did that with World War One, and that named all the countries that were involved in World War One. So I see where you were going. Well played, Crimini. Well played. Trailer Meyer says, "I like the radio version of War of the Worlds myself. Love that. I have it on CD somewhere." Fred Smithberg says, Zuplex spelling mistake, LOL. If a skunk was bitten by a werewolf, would it become a were skunk? There skunk. Liz Chapin points out to Tracy Orson Welles, it certainly was. Daryl Jones says, "Red wolves present little threat to humans, livestock, and pets, provided adequate precautions are taken. Like you don't do something stupid. Like the biggest thing we're afraid of here on Cape Cod is that some moron is going to have this crazy idea to try to domesticate the coyotes and start feeding them and things, going to train them. When they lose their fear of people, that's when they start biting people. There's on YouTube. I've actually seen it. There was this poor woman. She's trying to walk down the beach, and this coyote starts pestering her, and they say that that's what they do when they're trying to wear out like big prey. Like when they try to take down a deer, they don't just bite the deer because the deer will pounce on them. They run around the deer until the deer gets exhausted and distressed, and then they. So this thing probably would have eventually bitten this poor woman, but these guys on a boat came by, and she actually went out of the water. Coy wolves don't like going past their like whatever their elbow is in water. They don't like going up to past their uh, uh, dew claw in water. So it wouldn't she'd get away from it. But sooner or later, they're gonna start biting people. They come down my street. They come down my street all the time because the pond is right there. Pond's pond, and they get a lot of their prey there. And they'll come trotting by, and they'll just sort of like they'll look at me as they trot by, and then just keep going. More curious than vicious, but it's only a matter of time. Crominion says, "Remember that song from Dr. Demento?" I remember many songs from Dr. Demento. John Doe says, "Did anyone else see Zombeaver? I have not." Number one dude says, "Turducken." Not familiar. Cribbin says that's cool. Uh, Lance Steven says, "I watched uh, Alita Battle Angel. Very good movie. Not familiar with it." Zublik says, "I hear there are such things as zombie rats. Are my nightmares not plagued enough for you?" Richard S. says, "I have never lost my fear of people." Oh, no. No, people are probably the thing you should be most afraid of. Lance Shaven says, "And Ready Player One." Still haven't seen it. John Doe says, "I know of but have never seen zombie fish." Aren't all fish zombie like? Steve says, "Good to know that about coyotes." Um, Thank you. Denny Staten says, "No, no, no. I'm under the impression that if a werewolf bites another animal, it becomes infected and a carrier, and if they bite someone else, they become the were creature of that animal. It's getting complicated." Keith E says, "Bring in coyotes and stop shipments from the Acme company." It'd be funny if I use a coyote repellent and it comes in an Acme box, isn't it? That'd be ironic. Lance Chapin says, "Did Lisa leave?" We're down to 18 people. I'm not sure if Lisa left. I haven't seen her in a while. I know Emily said she had a phone call and had to go. And like I said, I think a lot of people were got a little frustrated having to fight the bot fight. And again, I more than understand that guy was being a POA. PIA. Thank you. So if people said we'll try thrash out next time, I understand. But I haven't seen Lisa in a while, so if she has left, belated good night. Criminal says, "Growing up in Arizona, we always had packs of coyotes in the neighborhood. Late at night, they were still afraid of people, though. So they'd bolt as soon as they saw you. They got many cats, though. Yes, on Cape Cod, anytime you hear a story about a missing cat or a small dog, you know where it ended up. John Doe says, look up lycanthropy and folklore and you'll find the origin. Fred Smithberg says, I like some of the episodes of the regular show Cartoon on Cartoon Network. The one with the zombies was hilarious. I missed what show we were talking about. Wile E. Coyote. Super genius. Yes, number one dude. Awesome. Let's give it beep beep. Mm-hmm. Trailer Meyer says, do Sasquatches bite? That's what I'd like to know. Ooh, aware Sasquatch. Why not? Tom Memory says, gonna head out early. Might be back for bot alert, but I think Lance has it under control. Tom, have a great night. Thanks for joining us tonight. Gerald Johnson's gonna Bigfoot become a zombie. Ooh, a zombie Bigfoot. Ziblik says, I wonder if Sasquatch has a mating season. Jamin says, good night, Tom. Skipping down. Steve says, I advertised your live stream on my community page. Probably won't get any extra viewers, though. I get no respect. Any shout outs, any love you guys give my channel is more than appreciated, regardless of how much effect it has. That was super, super nice, and I really appreciate it. Nick Mamunas is in the house. Says, hi, everyone. Nick, so glad you could make it. You missed the battle of the bots, by the way. We had the mother and father of all bots that we finally get rid of through a concerted effort. Thank you, Lance and Danny, and well, everyone, Tracy, and everyone just do. Number one dude says Harry Henderson was a friendly Bigfoot. Yes, he was. Oh, I'm messing with Sasquatch. Emily Miller, I'm back. Emily, I'm so glad you joined us again, by the way. Our little friend has gone bye-bye. And then there was another one called Rabbit Bat. He just came in for a couple and then left. And then I'm guessing that Captain Armageddon may have been as well, because it was almost like Captain Armageddon. He came in and sort of introduced himself, like we're all going to be like, mind your manners or something. And when we didn't, he just sort of went away. So wherever they are, they're gone. But sorry, I'm parched. Trailer Myers, I need to go to sleep. Got to work in the AM. Good night, everyone. Here, Tracy, thank you for all your help tonight. Thank you for the bot patrol. You were awesome. Thank you for joining us. Peace out, Girl Scout. Emily Miller says he came, he saw, he left. That's pretty much how it worked. You gotta give him credit though. he fought the good fight. Caribbean says, even my dad didn't respect me. He took me hunting once as a kid, and on the way home, he tied me to the hood and put the deer in the car, Rodney Dangerfield. I had no respect at all. Keith says, Tracy, do you love me? Tracy, that's all I'll do. Let's see. Surprised I've actually caught up. So, Steve says, Thresh, where is your gallon jug you drink from? That I was going to laugh out of me. You know what? I lost the cap to it. I went to fill it about a week or so ago. I went to fill it, and the cap was gone, and nobody took credit. I think someone accidentally threw it away when they were cleaning the kitchen counter, and so now I use these half-gallon jugs, a little less cumbersome. Parched. So, what other sci-fi novels do we have? We have a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, a lot of like really good stuff. Are there any sci-fi books people would like to see retros of, or would anyone like to see reviews of the books that I've read? Someone remember last time, was it Monday or last Thursday? Someone was asking me about Legends of Smithburst, the origin story of where my handle comes from. Someone went. I can actually see who checked out what videos of mine on my page. Someone actually went and checked out my review of Legend of Smithburst. So there is some interest. Oh, by the speaking of which, I'd still like to continue with my Bring a Friend program. If everyone could just get one more person to come to my channel, I bet I could make it go from 200 to 300 in no time at all. So if you people like bump into like a friend of yours and just say, hey, next time you're on YouTube, could you subscribe to Thrash Pondo? We could really get something moving. But again, let me know of any sci-fi books that you guys would like to see read to the equation. Nick Mona says that one show I do miss on Spike, BattleBots. It was fun. I remember that show from years ago. Kevin Scott says, Thrash, have you worked and acting? Oh, I see. Trash, have you worked on acting or on set production? Just curious about your background. No, my wife got me this. You see, I film these shows. Our computer is in our living room, so to give the rest of the family privacy, I turn the camera to the corner and I use this as a divider. My wife got me this as a present. But no, I this isn't a professional set design. Although I did do some on some Luxus TV years ago. Lens Chafin mentions Metropolis. Mr. Lynn says, darn it, Thrash, as soon as you started reading my post, I got a phone call. Can you do it all over again? Just kidding. I'll catch it replay. I'll try. Len, I'm just glad you're here and hoping that you're feeling well, by the way. Again, it's optimistic that you're here. So I'm just going to read this as a good sign, as a good omen. Oh, man. Emily says, I'm not your Auntie M anymore, sad. Auntie M, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. John Doe says, Buck Rogers versus Flash Gordon in a death match. Who wins and how? Gotta go with Flash Gordon. Buck Rogers was pretty hardcore, but Flash Gordon he's a born melee fighter. Now if it wasn't like a space dogfight, could go either way. Might have to go with Buck Rogers. But if you're talking in like a cage match, I'm gonna take Flash Gordon 10 for 10. Number one dude says, I'll spread the word, Thrash. Thank you so much. Gonzo out there. Danny, one more favor. Give a link to Gonzo out there. Danny, you're my official link master, and I really appreciate it. But you got to check out Gonzo out there. I loved your last couple of, well, I love all your videos, but your last couple of ones have particularly made me laugh. He does a lot of these like little animated sketches, and they're just a riot. Gunsworth says, what if you don't have any friends? You know what? I've spoken to that. If you don't have friends, tell me to your enemies. I have more enemies than friends, so if I was to like get my enemies to do something, I'd have much more of them to do. And what I would probably do is tell them not to do something because they weren't cool enough, and then they would have to join. Richard S says, weird science fiction books. Horse Clans from the late 70s, early 80s, very dark immortals fighting witch men from NASA in flooded Florida long after World War III, set 2,000 years in the future? How have I not heard of that book? It sounds awesome. Oh, Horse Clans? Rich, I'm gonna check on that. Les Javen says, Emily, you're my Auntie M anytime. Superflex points out a good point. Buster Crab fighting himself. Steve says, I think they waited way too long to make an Avatar sequel. They waited way too long. Fred Smithberg says, what was the best sci-fi movie / TV show converted to a video game, either arcade or home console? Tron. Number one dude says, hello, Mrs. Thrash. I'll pass it on. Fred Smithberg says, Star Wars Vector Graphics arcade game was great. Maximum Overdrive. I love the short story that was based on trucks. In fact, I really should do something Stephen King. Shouldn't I? Don't you people think I really should do something Stephen King? Emily Miller says, I can't remember reading any sci-fi as a kid. Really? Hey, that's cool. Steve says, Emily Miller, we're not in Kansas anymore. Lance Shaven says, well, I'm in Kansas City, Steve. Kansas or Missouri? Nick Mamuna says, one battle I liked was Buzz Lightyear versus Darth Vader. I get that. Gonzo out there says Royce Gracie could take Flash Gordon. Ooh, throwing down the gauntlet, aren't you? Les Chavin says, or Batman versus Darth Vader. Kevin Scott 76 says, Spaceling by Doris Prussia is a great book. Steve says to Denny Staten, thanks, dude, for posting his link. Gary Hansen in the house. Hey, Gary, good to see you again. Have you subscribed? Please subscribe. And Green Eggs on Ham is my fave book next to Winnie the Pooh. We're talking sci-fi specifically. Emily Miller says, absolutely, King isn't just a horror writer. No, you are so true. You are so right. Needful Things. I like, it was death in the box office, but I like Needful Things. Let's just see. John Doe says that PBS show based on the books about the tripods. I caught like a couple episodes of that when I was visiting my father when I was in college 35 years ago. And it was on his PBS station and not mine. And I went like 30 years trying to find it. I tried to order it through video stores. I could not get my hands on it. At a sci-fi convention, a guy had a couple of, I'll drop my glasses, I'll use these for now, had a pirated copy, but he wanted too much money, and I was going to buy it from him, but his shop went out of business. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was on, I don't know if it still is, for a while, it was here on YouTube, and I watched it, and I was so disappointed by the ending, because over the years, I had gone out and bought the books by William Christopher, which are amazing. Well, not only does this TV series go off the rails, but has one of the most disappointing endings, because apparently, from what I understand, it ended. They had to kind of just sort of, it ended on a cliffhanger ending because it was supposed to pick up the next season, and the schmuck who took over the BBC, the mumser, the loudmouth, the jerk, hated science fiction. He's the one who also, I think he also canceled Doctor Who. He basically canceled everything that BBC was doing sci-fi wise. So it was what was supposed to be a cliffhanger ending was just a very unsatisfying ending, and kind of ruined the series for me, I am afraid. My wife's glasses don't work for me, so I shall now get off the soapbox. Where did we leave off? I kind of went rogue there, but yes, John Doe. Tripods is an amazing story. Gonzo out there says Popeye versus Aquaman. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm gonna go with Popeye, provided he has his spinach. Les Javen says Christine Cujo Misery. Great triple feature. Nick Mamona says, I read A Wrinkle in Time as a kid, and it got me interested in science fiction. I was already interested in science fiction, but it actually turned me on to reading science fiction. I would only watch it on TV and in the movies. But that book blew my mind when I was a kid, and I have hated all the adaptations of it. I don't know how they can't get it right, but they can't. But I love the book. Emily Miller says, just because I don't remember reading science fiction doesn't mean I didn't. I'm sure of thousands I read in my childhood, several had to be science fiction. You read thousands of books when you were a kid? I've read thousands of books in the last half century. Well, I tip of my hat. I doff my hat to you. And yeah, by definition, I'm sure some of them had to have been. Les Javen says, Gary, all of us battled a damn bot from hell. We really did. It was just a massive battle. But the guy who claimed to always win finally just got tired and left. So I guess we all know who won tonight. Gary Hansen. So Liz Javen Chestnuts are being late, and he says, "Lance, I do have a life, you know." LOL. I'm glad you could make it, Gary. I'm glad you could. Oh, and speaking of Garys, Gary Carpenter is also in the house. Thrasher, those sci-fi shows can be an arm and a leg. Yes, they certainly can. And Gary, I'm glad you could make it. So we have Gary and Gary in the house. Yay. Uh, did I? Oh man, I jumped again, didn't I? I'm sorry. I'm going back to see where I left off. I don't know how far back I was. Oh, here we go. Gary Henson says, "I want that movie called Gintness Attack versus Mecha Fembot." Not familiar with it. Sorry. Mr. Lynn says, "Thrash and everybody, any fans of the TV series Grimm? Never had a chance to see it, I'm afraid. So nothing against it, but I haven't actually seen it." Steve says, "When I win the Powerball, I'm going to buy a full-size replica of the Time Machine chair with a spinning disc on the back, like in the movie. Oh, that sounds like fun." Keith says, "Why don't you make a 60-second YouTube type commercial for your channel, and we can just post it everywhere and say this is being posted by your friend who really likes this crazy guy." I actually have a number. If you go into my channel, there are a number of little posts I do promoting this channel. One is one when you go into my channel, it's this picture, if you will, of the worst Rod Sterling impression in history, or some other channels, little posts that promote my stuff. Feel free to post those. I can also make another one, but I'm sure you'll find something there you can send to your friends, enemies, associates, acquaintances. Gary Henson says, "Yes, I am your father. Just turn to the Gary side." The Gary Larson side? That would be the far side. If you followed that line of thought, it was actually very funny. Nick Mona said, "Two shows I wished had lasted longer was Atlantis and The Lost World." I don't remember them as shows. I remember movies. I remember them as shows. Emily says, "Are we making up science fiction movies now?" Why not? Lance Jamin says, "Guys, gotta go. My phone is dying. Sorry, Lance. So glad you could make it. And thanks for your help tonight. You've been a real help." Number one dude says, "Books and reading." I've heard of that. Gary Carpenter says, "Wedge, I'm here now." uh, and Melissa says, "I read over 100 books just in the first grade. That's amazing. Amazing." John Doe says, "How about doing a review about Tripod just to get your opinion on it?" I can do that. I can do that. I haven't read the books in a while, but I'd love to. Now there are three. City of Gold, White Mountains, and a third one. But I could pull them out. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a review of them. Mike Silva. Oh my God, I just lost him. Mike Silva in the house. Welcome to the party. It's been a while. So glad you could make it. Mike Silva says ED209 menacingly, "Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply. Dick Jones, I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. McKinney." McKinney drops the pistol on the floor, and then the thing still shoots him. Great scene from RoboCop. "Point the gun menacingly." "Not at me, at that." David May. David May. Oh my gosh. Hey, Dave. It's been a while. Welcome to the party. David May, have you watched Mayans or Steel Team? I have watched Mayans. Haven't watched it religiously, but I have seen a few episodes. I started with Sons of Anarchy, so I have watched Mayans. Haven't seen SEAL Team. Is it good? Mike Silva says cool pawns. I'm getting behind again, so I'm gonna scroll through really fast. A lot of people talking to each having fellowship. Mike Silva, huge RoboCop fan. People having fellowship with each other. Dave May says, Walking Dead almost finished. I also watched Fear the Walking Dead, getting tired of the zombie movies. It's been a little played. Have you seen or those Tales of the Walking Dead? Those one-offs they do, they're sort of like one-act plays about from the Walking Dead universe. I've seen a couple of them. They're not bad. Gary Hansen says, I love RoboCop 1 and 2, and that's it in that series. It was supposed to be a whole slew, but things kind of went downhill. Mike Silva says, good, Nicholas, watching Star Trek, The Next Generation on Pluto TV. Awesome. John doesn't like Thumb Wars. Gary Carpenter says, I think Man from Atlanta should have stayed on longer. I do too. I do too. We should have at least found out where it was actually from. Steve says, hit that thumbs up, newcomers, or pay the price. Wow, snap. Emily Miller says, love The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. Negan is new notification sound. It's so funny. My daughter and granddaughter love Grey's Anatomy. In fact, they're watching it now, and it was so funny because Jeffrey Dean Morgan was on Grey's Anatomy before he started doing The Walking Dead. And when I mentioned him, they're like, oh, you like him? Because they absolutely loved Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It's really funny. Derek Carpenter says, I think Manimal and Automan should have stayed on longer. Opinion is divided, but I certainly respect you if you like those shows. Let's just see what else we get going down here. Dave May said, Redined. Where the Crawdads sing, apparently there's a movie. Really? I'll take your word for it. I'm not familiar with it. Gonzo out there says, Emily, I think I started it, but I never finished. Not sure. Oh, I'm guessing The Walking Dead. Mike Silva says, Nicholas, they have all the RoboCop movies. I thought there was just 2. Or did they make a few like made for TV ones and stuff after everyone kind of went downhill? Fred Smithberg says, how come Goofy wore clothes and could speak, but Pluto was naked and couldn't speak? There was some hidden messages in there somewhere. Because Pluto was a pet dog. Goofy was an anthropomorphic dog. He was a sentient person in that universe where Pluto was just a pet. Gary Hansen says here's a thought buster that you can look up. Clint Eastwood's first role was playing Igor in a very old version of Frankenstein. No kidding. I believe that. I thought it was in The Creature Walks Among Us. Gary Carpenter says, Fred, he was a dog. Goofy was a humanoid. Well played. Mike Silva says, Walking Dead rocks. Dave May says, I still have those corny Steven Seagal movies. I have 1 or 2. Simple Fred Goofy was bitten by Lon Chaney Jr. Very good, very good. Let's see. I'm just skipping down. Gary Hansen says, I used to play the RoboCop versus Terminator game. Ooh, who would win? RoboCop. Mike Silva says, RoboCop, there were 3 movies and a terrible reboot. Yeah, I think that wasn't the third movie like a direct-to-video or something. Gary Cameron says, I Married a Witch was a basis for Bewitched. Did not know that. Mike Silva says, John, don't watch it. Gary, great movie. Mike Silva then goes to say, I'd buy that for $1. Number one dude says, Marked for Death. That might be one of the ones I have, actually. I can't remember to save my life. Alternative Show Beginnings. Yay, this is the channel I was telling you about, by the way, with the alternate theme songs in opening credits. Station 19 is pretty good, a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy. While we're on the subject, before I forget, remember we were talking about the Who's the Boss opening, and using the music for that to the Walking Dead opening credits. There's an episode where when they're in Negan's headquarters, his lair, his fortress, they're watching Who's the Boss on a very degrading videotape. I just thought of that after the fact. David May says, I'm still amazed that there never was a combat movie. Love the 60s TV series, ran for 5 years. I loved combat. Fred Smithberg says, Futurama, Mr. Panusi. Only 3 monsters existed, Dracula, Blackula, and Son of Kong. Nick Mona says, the house movies were my favorite. Every time you open the door, we're in a new universe. Ah, good point. Peter Weller versus Arnold. Love it. Number one dude says Tony Danza plays Tony in both Taxi and Who's the Boss. Excellent point. Emily says Lucille showed up on Supernatural. Ooh. Suplex says Grey's Anatomy is the Walking Dead show as far as I'm concerned. Oh, too funny. RoboCop 3 was written by Frank Miller. I think I had heard that. What comic books do I have by Frank Miller? Well, of course he did Ronin. But what other comic books do I have by Frank Miller? I do have a few. Suplex says Mesh is retracted. Gary Carpenter says Robbie Wrist played the bus driver on Sharknado. I did not know that. Daryl Johnson, DJ Deej. Daryl Johnson says Clint Eastwood's first role was in Revenge of the Creature 55, uncredited. Thank you. Yes, he plays a lab technician who thinks he has a cage with a cat and some mice, and he thinks the cat ate the mice. And they didn't, and that's the whole scene. Zublik says that show is still on. Yes, it is. Emily Miller says Dean picked up Lucille and told his brother, I'll bet Dad would love this. Dad was Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Really? I'm guessing. Number one dude says Clint Eastwood versus Clint Howard. Wow. World's most one-sided conflicts. Gary Hansen says, I like the theory's mom, then it became an AA series. Stupid. Fred Smithberg said, anybody watch Blackula? He was played by William Marshall, who was Dr. Richard Drayton on Star Trek 2. Yes, he was. Wasn't he also King of Cartoons on the Pee Wee Herman show? But he was great. Yes, he was. He was great. Mike Silva says Pawns RoboCop 3 came out in the theaters. Thank you. Gotcha. Gary Cameron says Clint was in Tarantula as the pilot. Yes, Mara Corday. Mara Corday was a friend of his and got him that role. And years later, when Mara Corday needed work, when he was doing the Dirty Harry movies, he got her the job as the waitress in the diner he went to. It was years later to show his gratitude. Little trivia there for you. Mr. Led says something wicked this way comes. It certainly does. Mike Silva says someone tell Pawns what? There's someone behind me. Sorry. Gary Hudson said, "Get off my lawn, LOL." Oh, Fred Smithberg says Clint Howard, but he is Balak. Yes, from Star Trek: The Original Generation. Kevin Scott 76 says Mr. Sci-Fi has a great YouTube channel, including the history of science fiction novels, the history of science fiction movies, etc. Yes, he's actually got some great stuff, science fiction wise. He truly does. Fred Smithberg says yes, he was the king of cartoons. Thank you. Emma says Pee Wee was so much fun to watch. Yes, it was. Criminal says LOL Clint Eastwood versus Clint Howard. A 44 Magnum versus a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. John Doe says there's a Blackula Bernstein now I'm watching with a bunch of black on Blucadame. Oh, the Blunt Black of Blutradame. Got it. Now I see what you're doing. Sorry. Gary Carpenter says, I love Mara Corday. She is in her 90s. Yes, she would be, wasn't she? Keely says, bad New Jersey joke. Why were there so many young boys named Tony when they were leaving Italy? Their mother wrote to New York on their head. Sorry. I think Siri may have wounded you on that one. Tom says, I'm still here. Tom, I'm glad you're still here. We haven't seen any comments for you in a while. So glad you're still here. Great to see you. Thanks, Tom. I just went zip. Kevin Scott says, when I said your background, I was talking about the kind of work that you have done before. I thought you meant the background. It is a nice background. Actually, I did some local access TV. I did a film review show and a cooking show on local access television many years ago, and did do some set design. I wouldn't say set design, but I did help out on the set design. But yes, thank you. The joys of syntax. Steve, ever see the Sands of Oblivion movie? I have not, I'm afraid. Is it good? Zublik says Clint has a reputation of casting old friends in his movies as a favor. So does his brother Ron. Gary Henson says Pee Wee played a vampire in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't recall that, but I'm sure he did. Fred Pittsburgh says, hey everybody, Hungry Jerk is still here. Yay. Yes, and Garrett Carpenter says he was the Penguin's father in the second Batman movie. Certainly was. Ooh, Nick Mamona says, how about James Bond versus Dirty Harry? I'm going to go with James Bond. Ellen says, excuse me, I need to point. You point it, whatever you'd like. So, something out. I'm the only woman here. Where did Lisa go? We don't know. We think Lisa may have actually tonight during the whole robot holocaust when we couldn't get rid of the bot. A few people found that to be frustrating and just bowed out. But Emily, glad you're still here. To be honest, I think on that note, we've been going for over an hour and a half, folks. And I have to work tomorrow morning, I'm afraid. Well, I have to work tomorrow night. I have to bring my granddaughter in tomorrow morning. But on that note, while we're still here, as we are wrapping up, while we're still here, though, I have to give a shout out to John Collins. John Collins just showed up. What's up, thrashing people? I'm in the ER trying not to have surgery for one of those things that no one ever wants to have surgery for. Amen. Positive vibes. Very much welcome. Thanks. I want everyone praying for John like gangbusters at this point. He's in the ER right now. I wonder why I hadn't heard during the last few days. Have you been sick and not telling me? Anyway, John's in the ER. I want everyone to send him positive vibes. John, you're a good man. You're one of our best friends, and we're all pulling for you. And I really hope you don't need surgery. Anyway, and I think that should be a very nice closing message for tonight. Oh yeah, Fred Smithberg. It's John. John Collins is in the ER. Very, very good friend of all of ours. So anyway, I want to say Oh, Valiant Thor. Great to see you again. Valiant Thor, thank you for joining us. Sadly, we're just wrapping up right now, but thank you for joining us. And remember, everybody, pray. Pray for John. Thank you, Valiant Thor, for sending the good vibes. Thank you for everyone else for praying and sending the good vibes. I just Valiant Thor, I'm very impressed. You just got here and you got the message. In any event, John, please be safe. Please let me know how things go down. Keep me posted, brother. And everyone else, I want you to have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Wild ride tonight, huh, folks? But anyway, I want to thank you very much. Everyone, be good, be safe, be careful. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.